Hello, good morning, and welcome to the OET Live Class. This is E2 Language, and my name is Mary Claire. I'm one of the tutors here at E2 Language, and I'm going to be taking you through the writing subtest for medicine today. I'm in the UK, and it is a very chilly morning here today. That's why I've got a sweater on, not as warm as one would hope. So welcome to the class, and hello to all of those who are subscribed on Zoom. Welcome. And also we are also going streaming live to YouTube this morning. So hello to our YouTube viewers as well who have subscribed to the E2 Language channel. Thank you very much for joining me. Please just in the chat box, do go ahead and introduce yourselves. Let me know who's in the class. And also, if you wouldn't mind, as usual, please do let me know that you can definitely see me and hear me clearly before we get underway with today's live class. I can see Ada is with us, Mohammed, Fatima, Adiam, Pooja, Sporty, and Gabriella, Claudia. Okay, welcome to the live class. If you're joining us for the first time, fantastic to have you here. And also, of course, to our regular attenders. Hello, Abdullah, welcome. Hello, Sayeda. So if you wouldn't mind, please just confirm in the chat box that you can definitely hear and see me. Just want to make sure the technology is all up to scratch and everything's working. Hi, Yasser, welcome. Okay. All right, so Mohammed, thank you. You're saying clearly, yes, technology working well. Excellent. Hi, Nahal, Zahara, and Uzaya. And yeah, okay, excellent stuff. Okay, so as I said, we've got, let's see how many are in the class right now. So hopefully a few more will be joining us. This is the live class with E2 Language for writing for medicine. So I'm going to be taking you through the writing task and how to approach it today. My name is Mary Claire, if you're just joining you. Hello, Ada. No, Ada, why are you apologizing? You haven't offended me. No, not at all. Sorry, did I leave you? Did I not welcome you to the class? I apologize. Okay, so thank you so much, everyone. It's just everyone's kind of coming in at different times. So I'm just trying to keep an eye on my chat box and make sure I welcome everyone into the class. Okay. All right, welcome, Ada. Nice to have you here. So, and hi, Ahmed. We have another Ahmed and Shola. Okay. So, like I said, we're going to be going through the writing task today. And I do encourage you to put your questions into the chat box. But if I could just ask you to keep your questions specific and also relevant to the writing that we're doing today. With a lot of students in the class, obviously I can't sort of veer off in other directions, but we are putting out live classes for all of the subtests on different days of the week. And at the weekend, these are repeated for those of you who were unable to join us earlier on in the week. Okay, so very, very good to have all of you, all our Zoom subscribers, and of course, our students who are joining us on YouTube as well. Thank you. Okay. News on the OET test. Okay, good question. So it's important to keep up to date with any developments by going onto the official OET website because they will be issuing regular updates. From the students I've been taking tutorials with this week, it seems like, you know, test centers are beginning to open up and people are sort of starting to get kind of more into the mode of getting ready to take their tests. So you need to sort of obviously keep up to date with the local information where you are. So the best place to do that is actually on the official OET website. But yes, definitely things seem to be moving. So that's very, very encouraging. So hopefully we will get back to things ticking over a lot more normally very, very soon. Okay, so I'm putting up one of our promotions today. So this is basically what we call our power package. Now the power package is really good. It's got basically one of our expert tutors has put together an intensive 4-week study plan. If you think that's something that you would find useful to basically for the OET, give you a week by week things that you need to basically tick off in your preparation journey in order to get ready for the test. That should be quite motivational because it's kind of been laid out for you. It also includes obviously unlimited live classes. So that means you can join the live classes during the week and again at the weekends. There will be a writing assessment also included in that package. and a full mini mock test with feedback. So that is something which is super useful in terms of getting an up-to-date current evaluation of where you are performing in relation to the test. Now, on top of that, which is not mentioned on the slide here, of course, you will have access to all of the practice questions on the E2 language platform. You will also, in our platform, you have these overview lessons, which are super helpful, method lessons as well, and all of the live classes that we put out within 24 hours, we basically add them to the recorded section in the left-hand menu on the student page. So if you feel like you need to review what we've covered today in the live class, you can go on to the recorded section. But like I said, there's a 24-hour lag, and then by that time, you can find the live class in the recorded section. And the package for the Power Package, that will all be available to you. You'll have access to it for 6 months, okay? So if you sign up for it now, basically, you will have access to that for 6 months. So that gives you some kind of leeway in terms of your timeline for preparation. Now, just to talk specifically about writing assessments, what happens with a writing assessment is that basically you go on to where it says, I think, feedback in the menu on the platform, and I'll show you a picture of the platform at the end of the live class. You basically click on your assessment if you have one included in your package, and then you basically, a timer will come up, and then you will type in your assessment, it's uploaded, and then I believe within 24 to 48 hours maximum, you will get detailed diagnostic feedback. So not only will you get a score, you'll also get some very helpful feedback in the speaking and the writing. And for the writing, listening and reading, that's all. You just kind of log in online when you've signed up for it at a time convenient to yourself. And then on that same page, you'll be able to book an appointment time for your one-to-one speaking assessment, which we do face-to-face on Zoom. The other thing I will mention is that if you're signing up for one of our packages, which include tutorials, so say, for example, the bronze, silver and gold, they also have tutorials, and to get a very comprehensive breakdown of what is included in each of our packages, please do go to our website at e2language.com to look at exactly what is included in each of the packages. We have a broad variety of packages, so you really need to think about what kind of is most suitable for you, and also, of course, for your price point as well. So the one-to-one tutorials are just really good opportunities to have a 45-minute session with a tutor such as myself or one of my colleagues. We're all experts here on the OET. And then you can bring all of your questions to that session, and you can really get to the bottom of any areas of clarification that you need, or specifics in terms of language issues you might have. So the tutorial really does kind of give you more one-to-one individualized feedback. So that can be very, very useful if you feel like you need more support. What else was I going to say? Oh, if you're taking a tutorial though with a tutor, it's much better to come, and if you're doing it for writing, and you can take your tutorial for any area of the subtest, any subtest. If you're doing a tutorial for writing, please do make sure you have at least one assessed piece of work in the system, because then I can pull it up and share screen with you and go through it in a lot of detail. Okay, so we can really gear up that session very specifically to your individual needs. So let me just have a look in the chat box. I can see some comments are going in. So, okay, let me see. We've got some questions in here. Thank you very much. Those of you who are just joining us, welcome. If you're just coming into the class, thank you so much for coming. So I've got here, what have we got? Sorry for asking a relevant question, but I'd like to ask you, if you don't mind, does tutorial include a power package? I think it's the other way around, Saeed. The power package does not include a tutorial because, you know, not everyone feels that they need one, or sometimes you don't realize if you need a tutorial until you've taken the mini mock test. So the mini mock test will give you a clear indication of where you're performing. And then on the basis of that knowledge, so you need to sort of build up some self-knowledge about where your strengths and weaknesses are in terms of how you're performing, then you can make a decision as to whether or not you need to book up for some tutorials. So Power Package is really to get you started, to get assessed, to put a writing assessment in, to access all of our materials on the platform, and then you can build up some self-knowledge about what you actually need. So some people find that might be sufficient. Okay, some people think I'm really kind of weak on my language skills. I need sort of some more one-to-one support. Some of you need to kind of come on and get help with your technique, for example, in the listening and reading. It varies so much from student to student that the Power Package is just a really good package to get started with. And then you can make a decision once you've gone through all of the materials and used everything in the package, whether or not you need more. For those of you who already know, then you might be guided more towards one of our packages and you think, well, I really need just help with my writing, in which case we have a writing intensive package, or I really just need practice one-to-one with feedback on my speaking. So there is such a broad range of needs. So the most important thing is to get you on the path to preparation and then provide you with all the materials, and then you can make a decision what your next step might be. You also have the option to sign up for the mini mock test as well. Okay. So you're saying I can do the mini mock test after 1 month? Yeah, basically, if you're talking about the Power Package, Yasser, you've basically got access to the Power Package for 6 months. So you've got some time in there to decide, you might want to go onto the materials first, do all of the practice, look at the method and the overview lessons, and then think, okay, I've got a good handle on how I think I need to approach the test, and then take it. And then you will get a clear snapshot, okay, of where you are currently performing. So I hope that answers your question, Yasser. Hi, Aruna, welcome. Hello, Sporty. What is the grade of the OET score for 43 out of 63 in writing suggestive of? That would be suggestive of C+, okay? So the sort of borderline, we're talking about for OET purposes, somewhere between 45 and 57 would mean that you are operating in the B zone, okay? So that is a guideline. That is kind of as specific as we could get, because obviously the exact formula to convert into the OET score 350 to 440, that is only privy to those working for OET. But it's a good guideline and it gives you a good idea. So you might be operating near to a B, top of the B zone, middle of the B zone. And then the other thing I would mention is that if I was taking the test for the first time, I would also want to know that I can consistently hit that level for my confidence in terms of being test ready. Recorded classes, basically, if you are a free user, you're going to need to subscribe to one of the packages to get full access. So if you're a free user, you're only going to get limited access to some of the materials and some of the live classes. So you might need to then upgrade if you want to get into the recorded classes, if you are a free subscriber. And we just give you a kind of a taster. So if you feel like that is something that is useful, then you're going to need to kind of look at the packages and see which one do I want, and then you'll get access to the recorded sessions as well. And you get those on the E2 language platform. You basically just go down on the left-hand menu where it says live classes, go a little bit further and click on recorded classes, and then you will have access. Okay. There isn't specifically, Ali's asking me if there is specifically a class for reading skills. I understand that's very challenging. Now, I do reading classes for OET on Monday mornings at an earlier time. I'm in the UK, so it's 8 a.m. UK time, but my colleague Colin also does a reading class, which will be at a time maybe more suitable for you. So look at the timetable for the live classes. I would start with live classes, and then if you want to sign up to one of the packages that has tutorials, you could book a tutorial specifically for reading skills, and you can designate, where you would need the help. Is it reading part C, A, B, whichever one it is, and then one of our tutors can go through it. We can check your technique, okay, one-to-one, and figure out what it is that is stopping you from succeeding in that section. It might also be partly connected to vocabulary, but without working one-to-one with you guys, I can't tell you exactly what the issue might be. Okay, so that's quite a lot of information up front. I will get back to that a little bit later on in the test. You can use a pen or pencil in the test, but on the OET website, make sure you get the correct pencil. They specify the darkness of the pencil. I'm being asked about a company that I honestly couldn't comment on. Ildico. I can't comment on that. I can only comment on what we put out here from E2 Language and the official OET website. Other than that, I am not familiar with any other providers on the internet, so I really couldn't advise you on that, I'm afraid. Okay, power package is $75, and it's a really, really good deal because it does give you very comprehensive access to not only to a study plan, but also to the materials, unlimited live classes, recorded classes, and also you get to submit a writing assessment, and you get a full assessment with a mini mock test, okay? I don't know which package, Adiam, you are. When you signed up for the package, it will give you a very clear breakdown on the website. So I'm not sure what package you're in. So without telling me specifically, I could possibly tell you exactly what's in your package. Okay, Iltico. So if you want to take a tutorial with me or one of my colleagues, basically I'm normally available 10 till 6 weekdays, and I do a few hours on a Saturday. But you would need to subscribe. So you could book up for, say, for example, for the bronze package, which will give you a tutorial that you could use for whatever you want to use it for, and an additional writing assessment. So that would be the way to go if that's what you need to do. Okay, so can you use online free materials? Abdullah is asking me. Like I said, if you are a free subscriber to E2 Language, you will be able to access some of the materials, not all of them, some of the live classes, and just a limited amount of some of our free resources. So by all means, go ahead, check them out, see what you think. Okay, and if you're happy and you think, yes, this is definitely going to be useful for me, then you can make a decision as to what you need to book up. So asking material on the internet. Well, the internet is a big place, Abdullah, okay? The only other place I would definitely recommend you to go, because I can't possibly vouch for every single provider on the internet, is to go to the official OET website, and they have some free materials on there, okay? So definitely go check out the official OET website. I would recommend that for sure. Righty-ho, so mini mock test, again, I've talked about that. So I'm going to now go through a breakdown, because it's always quite challenging to get through everything in the live class of what we will be covering today. So, right. We're going to basically initially start with just reviewing a few tenses. Then we're going to look at the method for completing the writing task. There is no template. We give you a step-by-step method, which I will be breaking down in a lot of detail. We'll start by analyzing the task. Then we will do a focus on selecting relevant case notes. Then we'll look at the planning of your writing, how to format your letter. And then today, the focus I'm going to be asking you to do is under time conditions, as I'm going to get you to write the introduction and also to write the other details paragraph. And we switch up on a weekly basis. We change materials every Monday on E2 Language. So we switch up basically the case study notes on a weekly basis, and the focus, the writing focus, and also the we go and hone in on an area of the criteria that you need to be aware of. So we look at different aspects of the assessment criteria that you need to be aware of in order to do well on this test. And then, of course, I will be also putting up a model answer. It's one way to do it. It's not the only way. I want to stress that. So then we'll look at the features of how these case notes we'll look at today have been dealt with in their entirety. So need to get going with the actual content of today's live class. Yes, Ildico, we will be covering, if you stay with us on a weekly basis, we'll be covering discharge, transfer, and referral. So it is on a rotation basis. So just keep coming every week and you will definitely get access. And likewise with our selection of writing assessments, if you are submitting them online, we have also a variety of assessments in there as well. The more you sign up for, the more variety you're going to get, clearly. Okay, so today I'm going to stick with the focus. So these are the 5 foundational tenses that I'm just going to highlight here. And then if you need very intensive help with tenses, by all means, do that follow up. There are materials on the platform for your self-study, or if you want to go through it in your own writing, a tutorial. So present simple, Mr. Lin urgently requires your expert assistance. Present simple, don't forget S on the third person singular. I require, you require, he or she requires with an S. We use the present simple for facts, habitual actions, and for what we call stative verbs. Then we have the present continuous, which is made up of 2 parts. So Miss Adams is currently receiving. So we have the verb to be conjugated with the main verb in the ing form. This tense is for ongoing actions which are incomplete, in process, if you like, at the time of writing. And then we have the present perfect. This is one where students normally have a little bit of difficulty, or not always, but sometimes. The 2 uses that will commonly come up in the letter will be the one we have here. So Miss Smith has been treated with cold compression therapy. We've got a present perfect passive here. And this is basically when we're focusing on the action that has been done for the patient, but we're not particularly referencing any time, but the main idea to convey it that something has occurred, it has been done. And it's a completed action in the past, but no specific timing. The other use of the present perfect will be with for and since. So this is for actions starting in the past, continuing up to the present moment. So for example, Mr. Jones has been diabetic for 10 years, or Mr. Jones has been diabetic since 2010. So started 2010, continuing up to now with for and since. Then similar to that, we have present perfect continuous, but there's another layer in terms of the meaning added here, which is the fact that this action, it started in the past, continued to now, and we want to convey that it is also ongoing. So that would be the present perfect continuous. So Mrs. Tran has been undertaking a course of physiotherapy sessions, for example. Then we have past simple. This is for completed actions in the past with a very specific time reference. So Mr. Jones was admitted to St. Andrews 2 weeks after his operation, or Mr. Jones presented on the 6th of June with the following symptoms. So those are our foundational tenses. I'm going to let you just test yourselves briefly. We've got 5 sentences on the screen. I'll pop out and let you have a go at selecting what you think is the correct answer, and then we'll check them together in just a moment. Okay, so let's, I can see that you're answering in the chat box, which is brilliant. It's nice to have your participation. So thank you very much for putting your answers in. Just having a quick scroll through. Okay. Right. Okay, great. All right, so let's check them together now, and you can confirm whether or not you got them right. So number 1, Miss Chan, sorry, requires your expert assistance. Okay, stated verb, present simple. Number 2, during his stay in hospital, Mr. Gold was supervised while performing daily activities. That's a past simple passive during his stay is a specific time. Number 3, Mrs. Springer uses her own front wheel walker. So this is for a habitual action, what she normally does. So present simple. And then 4, Miss Carmody has been assessed as medically stable. So we are conveying that the patient has been assessed. We're not giving any specific time reference here, but we're letting the recipient of the letter know that this has been done. And then the last one, number 5, Mr. Khan was admitted on the 14th of January. All right, so I'm going to move on now because at this point I'm just highlighting to see, you'll get a sense of whether or not, just ask yourself, do I need to do more work on my tenses? In which case you need to go on and do some study on the platform, or if it's really something that you're struggling with, you could book a tutorial to get some help with that. So the main focus of today is to give you a step-by-step fail-safe technique for how to approach the writing task. You need some kind of system in place. So you'll need to, first of all, when you get the case notes, go down to the end of the case notes and read and analyze the task. Then you need to read and analyze the case notes, and then you'll get onto the writing of your letter, whether it be, the referral, discharge, or transfer. So I'm going to break that down a little bit further. Okay. Okay, thank you, Fatima, for letting me know. Excellent, good job. Okay, so for the first 5 minutes, okay, in the OET test, you can't write anything. The reason for this is because you really need to very carefully do these 3 steps, okay? There's absolutely no point in rushing off to write the letter if you're not really getting a clear sense of the purpose and the relevance and what the content is that you need to present to the recipient of your letter. So first of all, in the task, you will need to determine, who am I writing to? Then what is the action that I want this person to take? Then you need to read your case notes, and you need to read them very carefully. And the case notes are sort of subdivided with very useful headings and subheadings. So they're breaking down the information into more manageable chunks. So then you need to read those very carefully, and you need to make some kind of decision based on their relevance, okay, in terms of the purpose. So you think, if I was receiving the letter and my job was, for example, I don't know, a physiotherapist, what would I need in order to carry out this requested action that's been asked of me? What information would I need from the case notes to help me do this, to carry out this action? So that always has to be the guiding principle of your selection and your decision as to whether something is relevant or indeed not necessary. Then when you get to, after the first 5 minutes, then you can start writing, and that's when you can start annotating your notes. Not a problem, but not for the first 5 minutes. You'll start, as you're selecting information, you're starting to think now about how you would organize that information and present it to the recipient. Think about paragraphing, think about what you're going to put into each paragraph. Paragraphing is very important in terms of clear presentation. So you need to really have a very clear theme or idea that you are organizing information around in each paragraph. So, think about the purpose of a paragraph is to show a switch in focus. So each paragraph, it needs to be clear to the examiner, okay, what's the reasoning behind this paragraphing? And so it might be prioritized information, information of secondary importance, and then maybe some other additional useful information. That would be a way to organize it. It's not the only way. Okay, so today, yes, as I've highlighted, you're going to be later on writing the introduction and the other details. It's a really good question, Saeed, about booking an individual tutorial. If you just want to book a tutorial, I'll get back to you on that, Saeed. Okay. Just give me a little bit of time. Okay. Once you're doing a task, I've made a note of that question. You just want one tutorial on top of the power package. Okay. And I will get back to you. Do not worry. Okay. So, All right, so basically then we're talking about paragraphing. So let's break down the 5 minutes of reading time, okay? So there are 4 questions that you always are going to need to ask yourself to focus yourself on the purpose of why you are writing. Who, what action, key information, and do they have any prior knowledge of this patient or not? Then in terms of reading the case notes, you're going to be making a decision based on the answers to those 4 questions. In that case, if I was the recipient, what would I deem relevant or not relevant that should be left out? It's an area of assessment, so this is important. And then there might be some information that could possibly be repeated in different sections of the case notes, but ultimately you need to decide, do I include it or not? It's either relevant or it's not relevant, okay? So I hope that is clear. Okay, thank you, Ildiko. Okay, I will add you to the list. Okay, about that. I'll add you to the list and I will get back to you. If you could just be patient with me and I will sort of mop up with more questions about the power package a little bit later on in the live class, okay? If you want standalone tutorials, cool. So guys, here is the task, okay? So I want you to read the task carefully. I'm going to put those 4 questions up on the screen and I'm going to give you a little bit of time to answer them. And if you want to, please go ahead and type your answers, just brief answers, into the chat box, okay? So I'll give you just a little bit of time to go ahead and do that. Cool. Okay, great. So thank you for putting your answers into the chat box. That's fantastic. So we're now going to confirm that on the screen and you can check with me. I'm going to be popping the answers up. So the person you're writing to is Dr. Cross, the endocrinologist. The action is you want them to do an assessment because you are the GP. Okay, you're the GP writing to the endocrinologist. You want an assessment and you want a management plan of this patient. What does the reader need to know? Well, the relevant history, okay, of the patient, their current condition, and any test results that need to be taken into consideration. And then what does the reader already know? In this particular case, there is no prior knowledge. Okay, so now that we've got that clear, okay, these are the guiding pieces of information that are going to guide you to now doing the selection of your case notes. So on the screen right now, you can see highlighted here in yellow. Okay, okay. Sorry, I'm just checking my messages, getting some answers coming in from Melbourne here. Okay, so yeah, so under content, okay, you need to make sure that you are including all of the key information with no important details missing. So what has happened when I've gone through sometimes in tutorials with students is that they said, oh, I said, why did you include some of the symptoms but not other symptoms? And they said, oh, I was worried about the word count. I said, no. That's never a justification. It is much more important that you must include, if it's relevant, all details must be included. So you're not going to pick and choose. If it's relevant, it's relevant. If it's not, it's not. Sorry if I'm laboring the point, but that is Really, really important. The word count is only a guideline, guys. So that is a guideline. It's not written in stone. So really, if it's relevant and you are expanding after the introduction, giving some important key details to the recipient for a fuller picture of the patient's condition, you need to make sure that you are comprehensive in what you include. Likewise, if it's under conciseness, if it's irrelevant, then it's irrelevant. Okay, so it might be something is very high priority of secondary importance and maybe useful additional information, but you need to, if it's clearly not helpful to the person you're writing to, do not include it, because again, that can affect the way you are assessed. So those two things are sort of very, very important in terms of the content of what you're putting in your letter and your selection. So I'm putting now on the screen the set of case notes, okay? And I want you to do your careful reading and give you maybe just a little bit less than 5 minutes today, just because of time constraints within the live class. Go through and select what you're going to include and what you are confident about leaving out, okay? And I'll pop out while you do that. Okay, so I do understand that I haven't given you the full 5 minutes, but I'm going to go through with you now and do some highlighting and see if any questions arise out of what we're going to be selecting to go into the letter, because these live classes are basically to establish a clear system and a step-by-step process. So let me just check in my chat box. Okay. Okay, no problem, Yasser. Okay, I understand you've got to go to work. Absolutely no problem. Now, I just want to, before we go through the selection of the case notes, I've got the answer here. So Ildiko and Saeed were asking me about add-on tutorials. So say, for example, you've signed up for the Power Package, which is a great package, but you just want to add on additional bits and pieces. You can add a standalone tutorial. The way you do that is you log on to the, you will have a log on, right, if you're a subscriber. So you log on to the student page, and on the student page, there is something that says E2 plus extras, and you click on there and you will see add-ons, okay? And then you'll see the things that you can add on to your package individually. I hope that has answered your question. So log in to the student page. You will see, like I said, E2 plus extras. Click on that, and then you'll get the add-ons will come up and you can add them on individually. So yep, just got that information through. Yep, you're very welcome, Ildiko. Right now, we're going to do some highlighting on the case notes. So we've got red and we've got blue. Okay, so anything that's highlighted in either red or blue, we're going to be including it. What is in black can clearly be left out because it's not relevant. So let's just look, for example, we can see there are quite a few dates in here in the case notes of consultations with the GP. And for example, the first one, couple of consultations down here on the left-hand side under treatment record, they are completely irrelevant to the endocrinologist. So we know clearly that we don't need to include that. Now, obviously, we need the name, the age, or the date of birth. The drive, the job here is relevant. We'll see why a little bit later. And then we've got some information about social background, okay, that is also going to prove relevant to include in this letter. Now, if we go to the, basically, we can see what the tests are here, okay, and then the preliminary diagnosis says results indicative of diabetes mellitus type 2. What do we want the endocrinologist to do? Assessment and management plan, organize personal blood glucose meter. So we can see where this is going and why they've been referred to the endocrinologist, what the issue is. So then we're going to be going through our case notes to each of the consultations and including what is necessary in terms of the content. So any questions so far about what has been, you're welcome, Saeed, what has been included in terms of the highlighting? We can see, for example, on the 17th of September here, that the patient was feeling tired and stressed, and basically they were referred to a physio for an exercise program and treatment, okay? Then on the next consultation on the 26th of November, it says that their weight was 94 kilos and the BMI was 30, so they were kind of overweight. So basically the treatment there was they needed advised that they needed to lose weight, take up some more exercise, refer to the physio, because as previously the patient admitted non-compliance. So they had not acted on the advice of the doctor from the previous visit. Not good. Then basically the next one, they're feeling run down, tired, and then there's some more symptoms coming in now. So eyes were sore, occasional dizziness, possible question mark orthostatic hypertension, you know, that feeling of faintness when you stand up quickly. They were then basically assessed as obese, unfit, and they had made no adjustments to their lifestyle or diet. And then their basically weight had gone up by 4 kilos and the BMI gone up too. In this, on the 24th of February, more problems with the eyes. The visual acuity had gone down. The weight gain had increased again, quite a lot. BMI got up again, and so definitely getting more obese. So a whole raft of tests were done here. Okay, for this, the tests were done on the 4th of February, and then we've got a review of all of the blood test results, which were organized on that date. So then when they went for the next consultation, the results were basically giving strong indications of diabetes mellitus, and that's why they're being referred on to the endocrinologist. Okay, so the date of presentation to doctor. Yes, we will be looking at a way of summarizing some of that information. We don't need to go through it date by date. We need to be probably organizing in terms of an up-to-date, prioritized expansion of what's going on with the patient, some secondary information, and then maybe some other useful information is the way that we're going to be organizing it today. Yes, you can underline the case notes in the actual exam, but not in the first 5 minutes. First 5 minutes is reading only, guys. Right, so I need to crack on. Now, something I need to point out to you, there is no template. You can't just sort of have a plan and then just lay it down on top of the case notes. I can't say this enough. Just as you would be assessing patients on an individual basis, you need to look at each set of case notes on an individual basis and make decisions based on the purpose, okay? Those 4 questions that we asked. So you need to evaluate the whole patient and each set of case notes on an individual basis. There are no rules that you can say that applies every single time in the letter. I always have to include this particular bit of information. No, you need to put yourself in the shoes of the recipient of the letter, and you need to think about, if I was receiving this letter and I was asked to carry out this action, what information would I need to know? That is always the thing that you need to go back to in terms of how to guide yourself to correctly establish the content of the letter. So just putting up the info on the power package again, because I've had a couple of questions. So now we've established that yes, you can, if you're a subscriber to the power package, by all means, you can add on extras. That means you can add on assessments, you can add on a tutorial if you like. So that's nice. You can kind of tailor the power package once you've kind of completed everything within that package. Or even during that process, you have the ability to go to those individual add-ons on the student page. So you're going to be doing a focus on writing the intro and the other details today. But before that, and like I said, I'm not going to spend too much time on this because this is basically a standardized format of how to present the letter for OET purposes. This is how you need to present it. And this information is on the platform. If you click on OET writing, it's all there on the platform. Plus you can go in onto the recorded classes and go over this again, but I want to get to the writing section. So just to just outline really what we need to include: the title and the full name of the recipient, their job, their address, a space there, the date, another space, the RE means with reference to, then the title and the full name of your patient, and either the age or the date of birth. Then you have the greeting and you have the signing off, okay? So that basically is the standardized way to present the letter for the purposes of OET. What about AF kept overnight? There is nothing later about its result. We'll look at that when we deal with the whole letter. Okay, thank you for that question, Akvili. And I'm not sure if that's going to be necessarily helpful in terms of the endocrinologist making their assessment to confirm the diagnosis of diabetes mellitus and then to come up with a management plan. So I'm not sure if that is absolutely relevant to include or helpful to include for them to do their job. Okay, so the date that you're going to put on the letter is always the date of the actual test, okay, just to be clear. Medical history is only going to be relevant if it's relevant to that particular person that you're writing to. So if they've got medical history about a sore throat or tonsillitis, that has absolutely no bearing on the endocrinologist being able to confirm the diagnosis of diabetes and indeed to come up with a management plan. So medical history is only if it is relevant to the purpose of the letter, okay? So that is basically how we lay out the letter. And like I said, we deal with this every week. It will be repeated in all of our live classes and recorded classes, and it's also on the E2 language platform. So a quick word here about the guideline for the words. This is a guideline. It's not written in stone. As I mentioned earlier, really, you want to get your content correct. So you don't want to be wasting the reader's time with irrelevant information. Likewise, you want to be fairly concise in your style of expression. So be concise, clear, so that the reader can efficiently extract what they need. They shouldn't have to read through unnecessarily long, convoluted sentences that are confusing. Be clear, be concise, and the idea is to efficiently transfer relevant information onto the person that you are writing to. So these are the two focuses for this week. Okay, this varies every week. Sometimes it's the main prioritized, paragraph. So this is what we're dealing with this week. So for the intro, the purpose, what is the key information the recipient needs? Keep it brief. So basically, on immediate reading, the recipient needs to be clear, what's the issue with the patient and what is it that I need to do? They need to know that straight off, okay, briefly in the introduction. Later on, as you go through the letter, you will be expanding upon that with more detail. Then the other details, which is kind of like other useful information, you will put that further down the letter before the request paragraph. So I'm actually going to pre-select, because of the timing, the notes that I want you to use to write the letter. So you're going to be writing the intro, which is brief, and also the other details as a separate paragraph further down the letter. And I'm also going to be putting up some useful information because, as you know, there isn't one way to always write the letter. You can be flexible with this. I've seen it done many different ways, all of them equally as good as the other. So just be clear and make sure that your introduction is very clearly stating the purpose, the issue with the patient, and what it is you would like that person to do. So basically, we've got the introduction, we've got the other details, some useful language, and I'm going to give you about 3 minutes to write those 2 short paragraphs. Have a go yourself, and I'm going to now change the settings in the chat box. Before I do that, Dilruba is saying, can you please be clear about the date? Yes, I absolutely can, Dilruba. Thank you for asking. So the date you put on the letter is always going to be the date that you are writing the letter. So on test day, obviously the case notes are going to be adjusted for that date. But as you are completing assessments leading up to your test date in your preparation, we couldn't possibly keep adjusting the test date, the case note dates. So I'm going to keep it really simple. Just write the date that you are submitting your assessment. On test day, just write the date of the test. Don't even complicate it. That's all you need to do, okay? On test day, test date will be the appropriate date. So I've tried to make that super clear, and I hope that answers your question, Dilruba. Okay, if you could just confirm that you're happy with that in the chat box. Okay, it's gone quiet. Dilruba, is that cool? Okay, test date. Yeah. Okay, wonderful. So I'm going to change the settings in the chat box now because you're going to be writing your excellent. Okay, you're going to be writing your own version of these 2 paragraphs. So I don't want you distracted, and I'll give you a couple of minutes to write your own version, and then we'll look at some examples straight after. Okay, guys, I'm back. So I can see some of you have very bravely put your answers into the chat box. Thank you very much. So well done for that. Okay, this is just basically to kind of get you focused on kind of combining bits of information into nice, cohesive paragraphs. Hi, Hagir, if you're new, welcome. Okay, my name's Mary Claire. Lovely to have you in the class. Welcome. Okay, so right, I'm going to put just a couple of examples on the screen. These are short paragraphs. Remember the introduction, it needs to be brief, to the point. Okay, so thank you for seeing Mr. Collister. And then we've inserted here a relative clause who has presented with symptoms which are consistent with type 2 diabetes, comma. So we've inserted, okay, a relative clause into the main sentence for assessment and management of his condition. So we've basically, everything between the two commas is additional information. If we were to say remove it, then the sentence would still read and make sense. It's called a non-defining relative clause. So we've basically got the issue, which is basically symptoms that we think are probable diabetes. And what we want of the endocrinologist is assessment and management. Okay, so that's very clear. So that's our purpose, that's our introduction. Then further down the letter, we're adding some additional information. So we know there have been some issues with him not taking up the exercise program and that he lives a very seems to live a very inactive lifestyle. So we've got a good word in here. It says, Mr. Collister is a forklift driver. So that would require him to be sitting down all day, who partakes in mostly sedentary leisure activities. So sedentary means sitting down. And drinks an average of 30 units of alcohol per week. So this is some additional information which may be contributing to the issue. It's not the most important information, but it gives a fuller picture and some other background information about the patient. Now, on the screen, I've put an example, okay, of how it's possible to deal with these case notes, okay, and how we might structure them and paragraph them and the content. So have a quick look, but I'm actually going to ask you to take a screenshot or a photograph of this page. And I'll just point out a couple of organizational features in the letter, because you can, as I said, go back and review this on the platform when you sign in, when you log in as a student in the recorded classes. So we've got our introduction, which basically was one of the focuses today in the class. Then this paragraph really is giving an up-to-date, important medical breakdown, if you like, of the patient's condition. So basically, they have summarized information. They haven't gone through every single date because I don't know how helpful that actually is in terms of clarity for the endocrinologist. So it has steadily gained weight and now, bringing it up to date, has a BMI of 33.2. So that gives a very precise reading. He has also complained of tiredness, sore eyes, and dizzy spells. So those are some of the other symptoms, okay, connected to this possible diagnosis of diabetes, indicating possible orthostatic hypotension. A range of tests were conducted, okay, the results of which indicated high random and fasting glucose, HbA1c, and cholesterol levels. So they've given basically a breakdown there of the test results. The next paragraph is some basically other preceding information, if you like. So we've got an up-to-date currently of where it's at now and the level of severity, urgency, etc. And then in spite of his worsening symptoms, including a recent decline in visual acuity, Mr. Collister has to date been non-compliant with medical and dietary advice. So that is important, you know, because they need to be put under a specialist here. There's only so much the GP can do. Having also expressed concern, his wife has consistently prepared healthier meals for him and the family, which he has declined to eat. So there is an issue there. He needs some kind of a management plan from a specialist, opting instead for fast food and snacks. And then we've put the other details. The last bit here is the request. So in addition to Mr. Collister's ongoing management and treatment plan, comma, kindly arrange a personal blood glucose meter and educate him in its use. So I'm going to let you review this now on the recorded section, because I also need to just highlight a couple of language features today. So let me just check in my chat box and change the settings back to community settings so you can all see each other's comments. Right. Okay, guys, I'm afraid I can't go back to the beginning of the live class because I have some more things that I need to include. So sedentary, does it sound like a judgment? Really good question, Jitsupa. No, sedentary is an adjective. It has neutral meaning, sedentary. It has no judgment or negative connotation, the word sedentary. A sedentary lifestyle just means one which is inactive, okay? So it doesn't carry any judgment, but a really good question. Okay, so I've got a disagreement in here from Nina saying, you disagree with the first sentence, symptoms are not consistent. No, the meaning of when you say not consistent, okay, let me explain that. Okay, really good question. It's the phrase is consistent with. Consistent with means indicating. Okay, so if your symptoms are consistent with flu, it means you're having flu type symptoms. We're not saying that the symptoms are consistent because they changed over time. So consistent alone meaning it means to be the same. Consistent with means they align with that particular condition. So his symptoms are consistent with diabetes, means these symptoms align with the kind of symptoms we would expect for diabetes mellitus. So I think there is a meaning, that was a meaning question there, okay? Right, okay. It's not judgmental to mention a person's job. We don't normally mention it, except for this time. The focus of the letter, May, is that we want to get this patient more active because we're trying to encourage a more active approach because they're putting on weight more and more and they're getting obese, and exercise would be the first port of call normally with the GP. That would be your first avenue. And if they are resistant to doing that, that kind of is an issue. And then a contributing factor is also that in his job, it doesn't require him to move around either. So it's not necessarily something that we would include the job, but in this particular case, there's a focus on he needs to be more active. He is an alcohol consumer. No, it's not natural to say he's an alcohol consumer. We would say he consumes this number of units per week. Very factual, very objective, okay? All right, so I'm going to... they're summarizing it. So if you're saying you'd want to put the detail in, Syed, I don't think it would be wrong to put the actual precision of the detail in. But you are going to also be forwarding those test results to the endocrinologist for them to analyze themselves. So I think that is a slightly gray area, okay? Because obviously those test results are going to go to the endocrinologist, and then they will get the precision of those test results. So I think gray area in that case. Okay, so I need to move on to now highlighting some of the language issues because we're running out of time. In fact, we already have. So briefly, we need to look at the difference between active and passive sentences. So in the beginning, in the introduction, you're going to be using more active sentences with the subject. I am writing to refer. It's what you are doing. And then could you kindly assist Miss Aitken with a rehabilitation plan? So those are active sentences. Now, in the body of the letter, you will have a combination of both active and passive. So, for example, if you say she recently presented, yes, because that's what the patient does. She presented to the clinic. So it's active. But when you're talking about something that was done for the patient and you want to make it patient-centered, you would say, Mr. Jones was admitted, okay, or ice packs were applied to the bruises. So you're then, if you're talking about what was done for the patient, you would use a passive form in terms of the grammar. So there's a combination in the body, but in the introduction and in the request, active sentences. So that might be another area that might require some further study on the platform, and we have those resources. So the other thing that you need to think about, and don't go overboard here, but you might want to take a screenshot. You want to be sure that if there are pieces of information which are clearly belong together, you know, they're associated in some way, they're somehow linked, you want to be able to use the appropriate linker to connect them, rather than writing a sentence for each thing. Some things might naturally go together in a sentence. So think about reason, order of importance, addition, and result. And by all means, do take a screenshot of what's on the screen. Okay, so I'm going to put up 3 sentences for you to have a brief look at, okay? The first one is asking you to complete the correct tense. The second one is convert it to passive. And the third one is asking you to select from the box appropriate linkers in the 2 gaps. Okay, so right, I can see some of you are putting in your answers into the chat box. That's brilliant. Well done. Good job. So I'm going to now put the correct answers up on the screen. Yeah, so the first one, basically, we would select B. Mr. Grand was recently hospitalized. So we're using the past simple because we've got the time reference there, recently. Okay, so we put B there for our answer. Number 2, we're changing this to Miss Ford, making it more patient-centered, was admitted. Okay, we don't need to say to the hospital, it's understood. So if you admit a patient, that means that they are being brought into hospital. So we're going to make it patient-centered so that Mrs. Ford was admitted to hospital, is optional on the 3rd of February this year. And then number 3, linking words, Miss Atlas was admitted to Kingsmith Hospital on the 20th of January for a total knee replacement. Okay, that was what she was there for, due to giving the reason worsening osteoarthritis and difficulty with mobility. So just highlighting some areas under language that you may think that you need to brush up on with the resources on the E2 language platform. Okay. So on the screen right now, this is kind of what the student page looks like. So you're asking me where to go for the recorded classes. They're here, okay? I'm pointing to them on the screen. So you log on, you click on OET course, click on writing, okay? You can click on any of the OET subtests, and you can see you get overview of the writing, the method, practice tests. You can go click into grammar, okay, and core skills, and then the letter format again, if you want to look at the layout. And then if you want to review what we've done in the live class 24 hours after it goes out, it will be uploaded here into the recorded classes section. So on the screen right now, again, please feel free to take a screenshot or a photograph with your mobile phone. We've got some additional links to some websites. So we've got the official OET website there. So that's a super useful place to go. We've got podcasts for listening practice, more reading practice down here. And if you have any particular questions that I haven't managed to answer today because of the time constraints, maybe to do with the packages, for example, and signups, if you go onto the website, check it out there. If you're already a subscriber, you can go on and go to the add-ons on the student page, but you can also contact our lovely support team at help@e2language.com, and they will be more than happy to assist you with more detailed or specific questions in terms of things that you couldn't find the answers to. But I think it's pretty straightforward on the website. And like I said, if you're already familiar with the platform, this is basically where you're going to go to get your access to your writing materials that you need to do for practice and preparation. And then don't forget grammar lessons and core skills. There are 4 different levels, and you can find specifics in there for things we've looked at in terms of linkers, what else, passives, active sentences, and also tenses. So it's all there on the website, sorry, on the student platform. What's happened here? Okay, I've done this again. Okay. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, I just clicked on something there and I lost my screen. So guys, basically, very briefly, I'm just going to fast forward through to the case notes. I had a request, somebody wanted to take a snapshot of the case notes, and seeing as now I've gone back into the beginning of the, here we go. Okay, so there are the case notes again, okay, for someone who requested them earlier. So basically, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to have a look in the chat box to see if there are any remaining questions. Yeah, no, I've done it, Ahmed. I've done it. I've put the case notes back on the screen if you want to take a quick screenshot. I've gone a bit over time, though, so I do need to go in a second. So which day of the week is the new writing lesson? Good question. Thank you very much, Adiam. We change our materials on the Monday. So Monday is reading, and I think writing for doctors is on Friday. Okay, so you get to work with Colin and you get to work with Judy. There are 2 different times on the live classes for next week's new set of case notes and new focus in the live class. And then I come back again on the weekend to basically cover that spot and repeat it, because not everyone is able to make the Friday classes if they're working, for example. So that's basically the next time that the doctors, the writing for medicine, will be on Friday. So yes, I mean, Ildiko, it depends what, if you say you want to have access to a discharge letter. So basically, if you just go into the recorded section and have a look in there, you will find examples of the discharge letter. Okay, so that can definitely be accessed. So please do go ahead and have a look in that section. So guys, I really need to shoot off now. I'm just going to temporarily stick with me one more second. Okay, so just to finish up, okay, I'm just putting back on the screen the power package, okay, if that's something that you feel you'd like to subscribe to. And then basically the mini mock test is a very important component of that if you want to basically get a very clear indication of where you're currently performing. So just to round off, guys, I want to say a big thank you to everyone who's joined us today from YouTube. And please do, like I said, if you've subscribed on YouTube, go ahead and check out the platform and have a look at some of our resources and see if it's something that you think would help you in terms of your preparation. And to our Zoom, our regular Zoom subscribers, and those of you who are new in the class, my name is Mary Claire. Thank you so much for joining. You can actually, if you go onto the website, we have a blog page. I do invite you to go and check out some of our blogs. I've got one in the OET blog section, I think under April, where I kind of give you a bit more information on myself and introduce myself in there. And we've also got on the OET blog site, we've got some really useful blogs giving you some very handy tips in terms of how to approach the OET. So there's tons of information out there, and you stay safe, guys, and have a wonderful week. and maybe see some of you, if you're coming to the reading live class tomorrow, I will be taking that at 8 a.m. UK time. All right, so have a great week, guys, and take care. Bye-bye.